All right, this is Talon Yazi and my presentation on Morbius, the Living Vampire, for RSSS 315. And to the left here, we got a picture of him, some concept art. And the right, we have one from the theatrical motion picture, Morbius, the Living Vampire. So, starting off my 10-point analysis, I have the source. He originated in Marvel Comics, first appearing in The Amazing Spider-Man, number 101 in 1971, created by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane. And he's primarily based in New York in the United States of America in the Marvel Universe. His full name is Dr. Michael Morbius, and he's often referred to the title of the Living Vampire. This Living Vampire title actually comes from his origin as he goes through an experiment where he's trying to cure his rare blood disease by mixing his DNA with vampire bat DNA, a combination of electroshock therapy. Some detections are really just like any other normal vampire. We have pale skin, red eyes, and fangs, along with his erratic behavior, making his condition quite noticeable. Like most superheroes, Morbius has superhuman strength and speed, also flight. He's a constant thirst for blood. His activity pattern is he has to feed on human blood to sustain himself as he tries to target criminals who seem deserving. So he tries to have some morals, kind of like a vigilante. His only weakness we've seen is been hunger. It's seen in the motion pictures. He gets weaker when he's not feasting on blood. His cure is quite interesting to me because he actually is in this position because he was trying to cure his own condition of the rare blood disease, but ended up morphing into, as we know, the living vampire Morbius from this attempted trial to cure himself. And his really impact he's had, he represents duality and guilt and the consequences of science. I think a little bit of greed as well. His character explores this thin line between hero and monster, that vigilante I was talking about. He's a tragic figure in Marvel lore, kind of loathing and self-pity. Kicking off his theoretical approach, I'm going to use economy and class, just really about how his survival depends on the consumption of others, just like how it is in a capitalistic society. His transformation is from a wealthy, respected scientist to an outcast, really showing how capitalism can consume you and spit you out. Also, how his endless need to consume blood reflects the insatiable appetite of consumerism, really just showing how us as consumers, even on the lower end, are just like the rich, kind of consuming on others, but instead of consuming on others, you're consuming from the bottom on what they're feeding you. And next is I'm going to talk about gender and sexuality. Really as a metaphor, Morbius showing his repressed desires throughout the film and throughout his time in the comic books, really fighting his deeper urges. And this shows a lot of common themes with toxic masculinity. Unlike most vampires, Morbius isn't really romanticized and sexualized. Has this embodiment of guilt and self-loathing that is otherwise depressing and kind of down, so not so much the fantasy vampire we think of. And also his race and ethnicity really just shows, as a vampire, shows how minorities can feel in different backgrounds in our society. His vampirism could symbolize how people have xenophobic fears of contamination or different cultural invading. And his time really reflects whose character is. The immigrant struggles in dominant cultures, how he hides himself from the rest of society, suppressing his deep, darkest urges and his true nature of who he is, really conditions minorities in our society. Morbius embodies the intersection of economic exploitation, gendered vulnerability, and cultural alienation, serving as a metaphor for class struggles, repressed desires, and silent otherness. Through tragic transformation, we see a critique of capitalism, traditional masculinity, and racial exclusion, making a poignant reflection of modern social anxieties. Thank you for this opportunity and for this project. It was a lot of fun as a fan of Marvel Comics. And the Marvel movies. I loved studying and seeing the correlations of what we learned this semester in Morbius, the Living Vampire. Thank you and have a great night.